Good morning. As a part of Viksit Bharat initiative, recently launched by Honorable Prime Minister of the country, I welcome you all to this much needed and extremely important lecture on global environmental changes. My name is Faisal Mushtaq. I am a faculty in botany in Government College for Women, MA Road, Srinagar. This lecture is basically a part of the lecture series covering various domains of Viksit Bharat. All these lectures are available on the college YouTube channel at the rate GCW MA Road, Srinagar and various other online platforms. I hope these lectures will benefit the masses in general and students in particular. My sincere thanks to the principal, Professor Ruhi Jan Kant, for starting this important initiative of Viksit Bharat campaign. Coming to the nomenclature of the topic, global environmental changes, dear students, environmental change means any sort of disturbance, any sort of interference in the environment because of various important factors. The most important factor is it can be natural ecological process disturbance, human influence, or any sort of animal interaction. But from the last 200 years, human interference or influence has dominated all other factors in causing various global environmental changes. Next, please. नाउ अगर आप देखें तो मैं अपने टॉपिक को इसको मैंने डिवाइड किया कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट सब हेडिंग्स में बिकॉज दीज आर ऑल द ग्लोबल एनवायरमेंटल चेंजेस व्हिच वी फेस इन द करंट सिनेरियो दैट इज द ग्रीन हाउस इफेक्ट responsible for causing global warming. This global warming is responsible for causing the sea level rise, and we also witness the ozone layer depletion, which has already been witnessed in the Arctic area of the planet. Now it is getting more and more depleted year after year. So the first and the foremost thing is the greenhouse effect. Greenhouse effect is basically a normal phenomena which is responsible for increasing the temperature of the earth to 15 degrees centigrade. If there would have been no greenhouse effect, the temperature of the earth would have been minus 18 degrees centigrade, because the temperature on the surface of the moon is minus 18 degrees centigrade. The reason is because the moon has no atmosphere of its own, but the earth has the atmosphere, which consists of various gases like carbon dioxide, we have methane, we have various other gases which absorbs the solar radiation and hence increases the temperature of the earth by 15 degrees centigrade, and hence make this planet inhabitable planet. But now the problem is not with the greenhouse effect. The problem is with the excess emission of greenhouse gases, because the greenhouse effect is basically possible only because of the presence of greenhouse gases. The problem is with the extra emission, the huge emission of carbon dioxide, methane, chlorofluorocarbon and nitrous oxide in the atmosphere, which is responsible for causing a huge increase or surge in the temperature of the earth, and hence responsible for causing the global warming. Next, please. Now, if you'll see that the greenhouse gases are generally four, these gases have been divided, and the major contributor to greenhouse effect is basically the carbon dioxide, methane, chlorofluorocarbons, and nitrous oxide. Carbon dioxide is the most abundant and common greenhouse gas, which is mostly emitted from automobiles, industries, then this huge industrialization and this transportation and urbanization has caused the extra emission of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and the contribution of carbon dioxide to greenhouse effect is approximately 60%, and the contribution of methane is only 20%, although methane is very poisonous and dangerous than carbon dioxide, but its percentage in the atmosphere is low. It is mostly released from the paddy fields, from marshy areas, and from the incomplete decomposition of the organic matter by methanogenic bacteria. It is also responsible for the release of this methane gas in the atmosphere. And then of course we have the chlorofluorocarbons, which is mostly used in air conditioners and refrigerators. This is also one of the major important gas which contributes to greenhouse effect and hence global warming. Its contribution is around 14%. And then of course the nitrous oxide. Nitrous oxide is also a gas which is mostly released from the factories involved in nylon production, or from some organic fertilizers, nitrogenous fertilizers. These gases are released in the atmosphere, and its contribution to global warming or greenhouse effect is around 6%. So we will find that we have already witnessed that there has been a tremendous rise or increase in the percentage of these gases in the atmosphere, and hence causing the global warming. Next, please. Now in this slide you can see that how the carbon dioxide concentration has significantly increased from 1750 to present time, that it has significantly increased in the atmosphere from 280 parts per million to 370 parts per million, which is a huge surge in the percentage of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And it is mostly released from automobiles, by deforestation, of course, is the main important reason, urbanization, transportation, and huge industrialization, which is, which we currently witness throughout the world. It has significantly increased the proportion of this highly poisonous gas in the atmosphere from 280 parts per billion to 370 parts per billion. Similarly, we have the methane percentage also getting increased from 700 parts per billion to 1750 parts per billion. Methane is a very poisonous and dangerous gas than the carbon dioxide, as I have already mentioned. It is mostly released from the marshy areas, from the paddy fields, and by the incomplete decomposition of organic matter by the methanogenic bacteria. Similarly, we have the chlorofluorocarbons also. At that time in 1750, there was no use of chlorofluorocarbon. There was no concept at all of chlorofluorocarbon. But now, after measuring the percentage and the proportion of this important and chemically inert gas in the atmosphere, it has significantly got increased to 282 parts per trillion. And I can say that it is highly alarming, because chlorofluorocarbon has got a very high atmospheric residence. Atmospheric residence means that it remains active in the atmosphere for a number of years. It has been found that it remains active in the atmosphere for 70 years. 70 long years, and it is a major gas which is responsible for the depletion of the ozone layer. And you know that the ozone is a very important protective layer which is present in the stratosphere, and it prevents us from the harmful ultraviolet radiations coming from the sun, and prevents the human beings, plants, and animals from various ailments and diseases like skin cancer, mostly because ultraviolet A, B, and C coming from the sun, the ozone layer stops those radiation over there. But it is also getting thinner and thinner. This ozone layer, recently it has been found that it has remained only 70 or 60 Dobson unit in the stratosphere. Similarly, we have the nitrous oxide also. You can see that its proportion has also got increased in the last 250 years from 270 parts per billion to 316 parts per billion. Nitrous oxide is mostly released from the factories involved in nylon production, or from some organic fertilizers also, and this is also the gas which is contributing to the global warming. So this is the percentage of the proportion. Next, please. Now, in this slide, you can see the effects of the increased greenhouse gases. The first and the foremost effect is the carbon dioxide fertilization effect. इसको हम थोड़ा पॉजिटिव मानते हैं, बिकॉज जितना कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड बढ़ेगा उतना प्लांट के अंदर रेट ऑफ फोटोसिंथेसिस बढ़ेगा, ग्रोथ बढ़ेगी. इसको तो हम पॉजिटिव मानते हैं, लेकिन नेगेटिविटी और नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट इतना ज़्यादा है कि ये नेगेटिव जो ग्लोबल वार्मिंग जो पूरी दुनिया में आज देखा जा रहा है, हर कंट्री इसको विटनेस कर रही है, बल्कि इसका इफेक्ट हर कंट्री में महसूस हो रहा है. इसका जो नुकसान है वो इस फायदे से कई गुना ज्यादा है. तो हम फर्टिलाइजेशन इफेक्ट को उतना हम इसको मानते नहीं, ऑल्दो increase in the percentage of the carbon dioxide will definitely increase the rate of photosynthesis in C3 plants. Stomatal conductance will get decreased, the rate of transpiration will get decreased. These are the benefits, but the harmful effect of the global warming are huge and alarming. Now, in the next slide, you can see that average global warming is simply the increase in the average temperature of the Earth, and our Earth has already witnessed the increase in the average temperature. You can see that United Nations Panel on Climate Change, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change in 2007, it has found that from 1905 to 2005 there has been a significant increase in the magnitude of the temperature from 1.4 to 5.8 degrees centigrade, which is highly alarming. Out of 12 warmest year, 11 years have been recorded between 1995 to 2006, and in 2006 UK and US experienced second warmest winter since 1914 and 1921. पूरी दुनिया में जो टेम्परेचर अर्थ का बढ़ रहा है, ये बहुत ज्यादा प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट कर रहा है, खासकर उन कंट्रीज के लिए जो कोस्टल एरियाज में है, जो समंदर के साहिल के बिल्कुल किनारे पे, उसमें सबसे बढ़िया एग्जांपल जो है मालदीव्स की है। इसलिए कुछ साल पहले मालदीव्स की गवर्नमेंट ने अंडर वाटर जो कैबिनेट अपनी एक मीटिंग ये मैसेज देने के लिए की कि हम अगर थोड़ा सा भी पानी का लेवल, सी लेवल राइज अगर आधा मीटर भी बढ़ेगा तो हमारी पूरी कंट्री जो है सबमर्ज, हम डूब जाएंगे, हमारी लैंड का कहीं नामो निशान भी नहीं रहेगा। इसका रीजन क्या है? जो मेन रीजन, जो मैंने मेन रीजन यहां पे नोट डाउन किए हैं, number one is the heavy industrialization, because the population annually is growing at the rate of 4%. So you have to meet the need of the populations also. Plus you have to go for the urbanization, industrialization, transportation, and there is a huge pressure on the natural resources. These natural resources are to be exploited at a heavy rate. So number one is the heavy industrialization. Number two, of course, is the deforestation. We have cut down the forest at alarming rate. There was a time when the area of the forest throughout the world was 6 billion hectare, and it has been decreased to 4 billion hectare only. और हमारी इंडिया में भी एक रिपोर्ट के हिसाब से हर साल 15 मिलियन हेक्टेयर फॉरेस्ट जो है वो काट दिया जाता है, वो तबाह कर दिया जाता है. एंड देयर इज वन certain reason for that, because zoom cultivation and shifting cultivation is very prevalent in the east also, where they cut down the forest patch and create the agricultural land. They used to cultivate the crops there. After some years this land becomes sterile, then they go to some other place, they cut down the forest there. This is called zoom or shifting cultivation. And when you cut down the forest, you are basically destroying the habitat, and when you are destroying the habitat, you are basically responsible for the extinction of number of species of both plants as well as animals. So deforestation is also one of the main important reasons. Now of course the paddy cultivation, cattle rearing, and pipeline losses, they are also responsible for some release of methane in the atmosphere. And then of course the use of chlorofluorocarbons, I have already mentioned, this is a very inert gas, silent gas. It is not having any order, it is an odorless gas, but its dangerous thing can be judged from the fact that its atmospheric residence in the atmosphere can be up to 70 years. It is responsible for the depletion of the ozone layer, as I have already mentioned. Then we have the burning of the forest issue also. It is also one of the main issues throughout the world and in our country also. Now these are some of the reasons. Then impact. The most important impact will be on the weather and climate. There will be huge shift in climatic zones, because temperate areas में टेम्परेचर जब बढ़ेगा तो उस टेम्परेचर के बढ़ने से जो स्पीशीज अपने आप को अडॉप्ट कर गई थी टेम्परेट एरियाज में, वो या तो वहां से भाग जाएंगी और दे विल गेट एक्सटिंक्ट. ये तो एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट. और जो रीजन्स ऑलरेडी ड्राउट प्रोन थे या ड्राई थे, वो और ज्यादा ड्राई होते चले जाएंगे. दिस विल रिजल्ट इन इंक्रीजिंग द एरिया ऑफ डिजर्टिफिकेशन. जो डिजर्टिफिकेशन जो है वो और बढ़ेगा, उसके अंडर में जो एरिया आएगा वो और बढ़ता चला जाएगा. बारिशें जहां पे नॉर्मल होती हैं वहां ज्यादा होना शुरू हो जाएंगी. अल्टीमेटली देयर विल बी अ चेंज इन द वेदर एंड क्लाइमेट. देन ऑफ कोर्स द चेंज इन सी लेवल राइज, बिकॉज आफ्टर द इंक्रीज इन द ग्लोबल एवरेज टेम्परेचर ऑफ द अर्थ, देयर अकर द ग्लेशियर मेल्ट इन द हिमालयाज. And this melting of the glacier will be responsible for the huge flow of water through rivers into the oceans, and hence the ocean level will get increased. और आप देख सकते हैं 20th century में ऑलरेडी इस चीज को मेजर किया गया है कि दैट हर साल 1 से 2 mm सी लेवल राइज होता है. और अगर ये इसी तरह होता रहा तो 2100 तक ये सी लेवल राइज 0.88 मीटर हो जाएगा. 2100 का मतलब अगर आज 2023 है तो इसको आप मान के चले 77 ईयर्स के बाद ये जो सी लेवल राइज होगा ये 0.88 मीटर होगा. आईपीसीसी ने कहा हमें 0.88 की जरूरत नहीं है, आप सिर्फ इतना बढ़ा दीजिए. 0.5 मीटर भी अगर आप बढ़ाएंगे, इट विल बी हाईली डिजास्ट्रस, highly alarming situation will arise at that time, because whole Maldives will get submerged, hundreds and thousands of islands will get submerged, 11.5% of the Bangladesh will get submerged. Then the coastal areas, cities, and 13 cities of the world's largest 20 cities, they are in the coastline, they will get submerged. And India also, in our country also, the city of Mumbai will be hugely affected by this sea level rise. Freshwater resources will get depleted, and there will be a huge disease separate, because salt water, saline water जब अंदर है जो है कॉलोनीज में अंदर आएगा, उससे बहुत सारा उससे एक इमरजेंसी सिचुएशन क्रिएट होगी. बहुत सारे डिजीज वेक्टर्स उससे फैलेंगे, बहुत सारी बीमारियां जन्म लेंगी, क्रॉप प्रोडक्शन कम होगी, या जहां पे कुछ क्रॉप्स को देखा गया है कि टेम्परेट एरियाज में बढ़ेंगी, लेकिन अल्टीमेटली इससे बहुत बड़ा इम्पैक्ट जो होगा इस सी लेवल राइज से। और सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज जो सी लेवल राइज के अलावा मैं आपको बता रहा हूं, दैट इज इफेक्ट ऑन द रेंज ऑफ स्पीशीज डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन। जो मैंने ऑलरेडी आपको कहा, टेम्परेट एरियाज जब सब ट्रॉपिकल में कन्वर्ट होंगे तो फिर टेम्परेट एरियाज और ज्यादा टुवर्ड्स द पोल जो है वो शिफ्ट हो जाएंगी, जिसकी वजह से बहुत एक प्रॉब्लम और हैबिटेट जो फ्रेगमेंटेशन और फिर ओवर एक्सप्लॉइटेशन और फिर इंट्रोडक्शन ऑफ द स्पीशीज टू न्यूअर एरियाज, it will be havoc at that time. And of course the food production will also be seriously affected by global warming. There will be glacier melt in the Himalayas, and when the glacier melt, it will bring huge amount of silt and sand particles and everything, and causing huge level of landslides at that time. Then we have also the increased deposition of carbon dioxide in the oceans also, because जब atmosphere में carbon dioxide की concentration बढ़ती चली जाएगी, तो ये carbon dioxide जब ocean में चला जाएगा तो वहां पे ये एसिड में कन्वर्ट होगा, तो एसिडिफिकेशन उसको हम कहते हैं, विच विल बी हाईली डेंजरस फॉर द मैरीन बायोडाइवर्सिटी इंक्लूडिंग द एल्गी एंड द कोरल रीफ्स आल्सो। देयर विल बी अ चांस ऑफ इंक्रीज इन द पेस्ट आल्सो, एंड एक्सटिंक्शन रेट विल गेट हायर। इट हैज बीन फाउंड दैट अराउंड 20 to 30 species will get 20 to 30% species of both plants and animals will get extinct by this global warming, and global economic output, it will be seriously impacted. It has been found that around 10 to 12% of the global economic output, it will get crashed at that time. These are some of the impacts of the global warming. Then of course strategies. What should be our strategies? The first and the foremost strategy is increase the vegetation cover. Plant trees, plant these important medicinal plants. Vegetation, increase the vegetation cover, increase the green cover. That's why we recently proposed one idea, because higher education department of our UT has told us to give some innovative ideas. So we gave one important idea, that was one student one plant maintenance program, that every student who is admitted in the college, he has to maintain one plant, and when he will leave the college, he has to submit that plant. He will be given the certificate of appreciation. This will increase the green cover of our college campuses, and this idea was also recommended by the screening committee of higher education department. I don't know where the idea that idea has been recommended or not, but this was one of the idea. Then of course the second strategy will be replace the chlorofluorocarbon. Give us some important alternative, a renewable or a green source of alternative, the green alternative. Then the limited fossil fuel usage, we have to limit the fossil fuel utilization, and it is the reason why electric vehicles have been recently launched in the market, and there are so many subsidies and so many benefits involved for these electric vehicles given by the government. Of course, then develop the renewable source of energy. Renewable source of energy, most in the form of solar energy and wind energy. We have to depend on them in the future if we want to save our planet. Then discourage deforestation, which is happening at an alarming rate, not in the cities and metros, but in the rural areas. Still this deforestation is happening at alarming rate, and this is the reason why the current landslide areas are getting increased, because we have totally cleared the forest, and this has resulted in the soil erosion, shifting of the upper layer of the soil with the rainfall, causing huge landslides. Then I have mentioned certain important steps which we can adopt locally in our homes. Let's do it to make India a developed nation. What? Save energy at home. अगर घर में 5 कमरे हैं और एक कमरे में आप बैठे हैं, 4 रूम्स की आप लाइट्स बंद करिए, खुदारा बंद करिए, उससे आप अपनी एनर्जी को बचाइए। आप पूरा उसमें एक नेशन बिल्डिंग में, ये स्टेप बहुत छोटा लगता है लेकिन इसका इंपैक्ट बहुत बड़ा है। उसके बाद चेंज योर सोर्स ऑफ एनर्जी एट होम। यू कैन बी डिपेंडेंट ऑन द सोलर एनर्जी। देयर आर सो मेनी स्कीम्स लॉन्च्ड बाय द गवर्नमेंट लाइक नेशनल सोलर मिशन. You can have that solar rooftops on your homes also. This is very efficient and clean source of energy. Walk or take public transport. हमारे घरों में अगर 4 लोग एम्प्लॉय हैं तो 4 के पास 4 गाड़ियां हैं, उसको डिस्करेज करने की जरूरत है. We can adopt the public transport. It is very beneficial and it is also environmentally, it is also very safe. It can prevent the environment from getting more and more degraded in the near future. Switch to an electric vehicle. This is the step already taken by the government of India, which is a welcome step. It will be a boost to environmental protection and preservation. Then reduce, reuse, repair and recycle. These are the 4 R's. We have to adopt this important strategy: reduce, reuse, repair and recycle. एक ही चीज अगर थोड़ा सा कुछ उसमें कोई हमारे पास घर पे कंप्यूटर पड़ा है, उसको रिपेयर किया जा सकता है। हम 10 कंप्यूटर लाके एक इलेक्ट्रिक एक वेस्ट ई वेस्ट आप एक्यूमुलेट कर रहे हैं, दैट इज आल्सो नॉट गुड फॉर द एनवायरनमेंट। देन थ्रो अवे लेस फूड। यहाँ पे कश्मीर में एक बहुत सुनने में आया कि यहाँ पे बहुत सारा खाना फेंक दिया जाता है, स्पेशली शादियों में बहुत खाना पकता है और फिर खाने वाले लोग जब फारिग हो जाते हैं तो बहुत सारा खाना फेंक दिया जाता है बाहर। इससे हमें बचना है। एनवायरनमेंट के लिए सेफ हर चीज इसमें कवर होगी। प्लांट ट्रीज जितना हो सके, स्पेशली नेटिव ट्रीज। हमारे यहाँ पे सिट्रस देवदारा, पाइनस वॉलिचियाना, पाइनस जिराडियाना बहुत बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट, ये एक हमारा यहाँ पे जो ये ट्री बायोडाइवर्सिटी है, इसमें इनका बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रोल है। स्पेशली सिट्रस देवदारा, इनको हम लगा सकते हैं। और भी बहुत सारे नेटिव स्पीशीज हैं, वी हैव टू बी डिपेंडेंट ऑन दैट। देन क्लीन अप योर सराउंडिंग। अपनी सराउंडिंग्स को साफ रखें, अपने कॉलेज कैंपस को साफ रखें, पॉलीथीन फ्री कर दें, बल्कि एक आदत बनाएं। जो भी आपका कोई भी गार्बेज अगर जमा होता है, कोशिश करें कि उसको आप अपने बैग में रखें। बाहर हमारे कॉलेज के हम शुरू कर सकते हैं इसको अपने कॉलेज कैंपस से। अगर आप अपने कैंपस में ही बिल्कुल पॉलीथीन फ्री बना दें, देन इट विल बी ए ह्यूज आपका एक कंट्रीब्यूशन होगा टुवर्ड्स द नेशन। देन स्पीक अप एंड अवेयर अदर्स। खाली चुप करके नहीं बैठना है, बोलना है और लोगों को अवेयर करना है। आई थैंक ऑल फॉर लिसनिंग दिस लेक्चर। मुझे पता नहीं मैं कितना आप तक मैसेज पहुंचा पाया, बट आई एम हाईली थैंकफुल टू हायर एजुकेशन डिपार्टमेंट एंड टू माय प्रिंसिपल मैम हु गेव दिस अपॉर्चुनिटी टू मी फॉर स्पीकिंग ऑन दिस important issue of global environmental changes which we have to address for making India a Viksit Bharat by 2047. Thank you.